Are you fired up for today's AEW Dynamite review? Because I am about to set everything ablaze with my bonfire of very, very hot takes, my flaming hot takes, as we talk about the AEW Dynamite edition that happened on, what was it? September 4th, 2024 from Milwaukee. Hi, I'm Warren Nice to see you and welcome. I hope you enjoyed the opening bit because, I debated with myself if I shouldn't just spread all throughout the review, fire puns, all, from top to bottom. And then I kind of thought, no, first of all, it's kind of corny. Second of all, it's a lot of work. So, I figure we'll just get it out of the way. Get it out of my system, basically. It's mostly for me that I did this, to be perfectly honest. It's mostly just to get that out of my system so it doesn't plague the rest of the review. I hope you appreciate the effort that I put into this. For you, the audience, the lovely viewing audience of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast things. But this is the Dynamite review. We are not, we're not talking about, things happening right and left. No, we're focusing on the Dynamite review. This is what we're doing here. Thank you for being here. Likes on YouTube, reviews, ratings on Apple Podcasts and Spotify would help out tremendously. Those are great. Yeah, I mean, look. Well, first of all, as we usually do, right? The Milwaukee Panther Arena was the host once again of another Dynamite, right? They've been there a couple of times. I think this is the third, fourth time, maybe. I know it's 3 for sure. Maybe this is even the fourth. 2,448 tickets distributed according to WrestleTix. Yeah. I don't know what to tell y'all. I mean, this continues to not be good. The trend is not good. The last time they were here was in April 2023, and they were able to get in. They were able to get 3,273 people into well, at least distribute that amount of tickets, I should say. Look, the ticket sales are what they are. It's been woefully bad. It really has not been good. And the trend is continuing, and some very key, some very key shows coming up. Dynamite is, still not doing good. The Grand Slam show over in at the Arthur Ashe Stadium, which is in what? Over 2 weeks, 20 days? It's something to that effect, 3,742 tickets have been distributed. Last year, 11,263. And back then, we all thought it was a disaster. A year ago, we were saying, this is not good. This is not good. This is not good. An arena that in their first year, they sat 20,000 people in Arthur Ashe. And now we're struggling to get a seventh of that in the building, right? Or a fifth, because we're closer to 4,000 if we're doing the math thing properly, which, of course, as you know, I am terrible at. I mean, there's no way to cut this, right? And I mean, look, All Out is doing better as far as ticket sales go. Where are we at right now with All Out? Now, here we go. Last update 5 days ago, as I'm recording this on the Thursday, September 5th, 2024. 5 days ago, 6,511 tickets were distributed. Last year's All Out was 9,826 people. I don't think they're going to get to that. I think they're going to get to 7,500, I'd say. Maybe, they're going to hit 7,000 for sure. Will they hit 7,500? I don't know, come to think of it. But they will hit 7,000 for sure by Saturday. You know, they're going to paper the town. You know, the attendance is better, right? The pay-per-view attendances are always better than the run-of-the-mill TV tapings. But even in this circumstance, it's a lot worse than last year. And you know what? Like, I've been rewatching the 2019 All Out. For a very specific reason, which I'm excited to announce soon. I've been rewatching All Out from 2019, and it's just fascinating that 5 years later, you know, AEW has to do whatever they can to get people seated in the building, whereas in 2019, the Now Arena, back then the Sears Center, was packed, and the atmosphere was just so good. And now it's like, it's a struggle to get people into the buildings. Just wild. So again, you know, the ticket woes are a consistent narrative here on the Dynamite reviews. I don't want to spend too much time on this. We've got a lot of stuff to cover on today's program. Yeah, I mean, this was not a great turnout in Milwaukee. Not that I expected anything else. Like at the you know, you could see the trends. It's not good. I mean, Tony's got to be chomping at the bit right now to announce the media deal, so that people like me can shut up and stop trying to make such a big deal out of the ticket sales. But the ticket sales are nonetheless like a telling consumer metric. They're an important consumer metric, as others are. Look, as I always say, right, in regards to AEW, doing well on ratings, on cable, Dynamite is, you know, always in the conversation for being the top, the top show on its night. You know, 1 to 3 usually. Wasn't just last week. They were at the top. They were the #1 rated show on Wednesday, right? If I'm not mistaken. Collision's doing what it's doing. It's plugging along. It's doing well as well. Pay-per-view buys are good. I don't think anyone can really complain about that. They usually post some very good numbers, so that maintains. And ticket sales for the shows, for the pay-per-views, are always better than the TV tapings. So the business of AEW pay-per-views is unquestionably good. That's what resonates the most with the viewing audience right now, much more than purchasing a ticket to go watch a random Dynamite, which is kind of wild. But look, you know, got to underscore that. Got to make sure everyone understands that I'm not saying that AEW is a complete trash fire and a disaster, because it's not. But it's interesting to realize, when you take a minute to think about it, that consumer confidence in the week-to-week shows is not as strong as for the pay-per-views. People are willing to shell out the big bucks to watch the pay-per-views, as opposed to shelling out, you know, bucks, but not as many bucks to go see a random Wednesday night Dynamite. Anyway, let's get to this show. It opens up with Daniel Garcia. He makes his entrance, gets on the mic. He says patience is a virtue, but he's not feeling virtuous tonight. He wants MJF to come out here so he can break his neck right here, right now. MJF is actually in the audience. He's sitting up in the arena, and he's surrounded by security. He says he doesn't want to ruin their big match coming up on Saturday by whooping his ass. And he calls Daniel Garcia an emaciated skinhead, and he calls him an emaciated skinhead hooked on Ozempic. Wow. All right. Garcia says MJF is fake and a liar, and everything about him is a lie, from his tan to the makeup covering his acne. to the trip to Turkey for a hair transplant that didn't even work. Those cut deep. You know, here's the thing. The one thing that I like about these barbs here is that they attack directly the insecurities that MJF has about himself, right? Like, we're talking kayfabe, of course. Maybe he has those in real life. I don't know. I don't know the guy well enough. But as far as kayfabe goes, like these were like sharp twists of the knife here. The hair transplant trip is actually one of the funniest things ever. He even says, Garcia, though, in this same context here, he says that MJF's leg tattoo is fake. Said it was a paint-on job. And now I'm like, I wouldn't put it past MJF to do that. I wouldn't put him past, wouldn't put it past him to have the leg tattoo also. And we're going to have to keep an eye on that. I don't know if we were all worked here. And then he starts talking about when MJF has a kid. The kid's going to ask him, Daddy, were you a wrestler? And he's going to have to say he was until Daniel Garcia ended his career. MJF backhandedly calls Garcia's mother a whore. I mean, that's what Max does when he's pushed up against the wall and he's got nothing left. Well, you gotta go for those insults, and somehow they continue to make people upset, and somehow people don't understand that this is exactly his character and this is exactly what he does. And MJF has to be this way. He's got to be, a scummy, low-hanging fruit, edgelord type. That's what makes him work. That's why people are annoyed by him. Oh, he can have much better promos. Yeah, sure he can, but he always reverts to this when things start getting hairy, and he doesn't have responses because he doesn't have anything else. Anyway, Garcia takes offense to his mother being called a lady of the night, as most people would, and he just he hits the bricks, jumps the barricade, and goes after security. MJF sends the security after him. Eventually, Garcia gets to him, and MJF cracks a bottle across his skull, and it explodes into a million shattered pieces. MJF takes a sip of his drink. It seemed like beer. I think he was having a beer. I think he was having a nice fancy microbrewery beer. That's what it looked like. I don't think it was wine. Not that it matters really. And Garcia's bleeding. He's got he ran the razor for this one. MJF says a few more words to him, and then he kisses the open wound. What is it with the AEW wrestlers and kissing the wounds of their opponents? When I'm starting to wonder what Tony, that when Tony says he books for the sickos, that he's meaning it quite literally at this point. I thought this was a good segment. I thought this was a good little send off to the pay-per-view, because I didn't even say this from the start. I was so excited doing my my fire bit, that cracking out the puns. That this is the go home show to All Out, right? So we've got everything set up here, and in this circumstance here, I thought this is as good as a go home segment as you can get. Was it great? No, but I thought it was really good. I thought it was effective. It continues to add fuel to the fire, and you know what? I legitimately feel like whatever happens at All Out between these two gentlemen, this feud must continue. I think it's going to perpetuate, and for that reason, I have an inkling, I have a feeling, I have a little tingle in my tummy telling me that Daniel Garcia is going to be on the losing end of this match, which is going to fuel speculation about his departure to WWE, which seems more and more improbable. But I don't want to speak out of turn here, because I was part of the crew, the people saying there's no way Cody Rhodes is leaving AEW for WWE. But no, I thought this was effective. I thought it was good. I thought Garcia was very good. But I feel like he could have cranked it up more. But I mean, I'm being nitpicky. This was effective. It was a good segment. MJF's a bastard. Garcia just wants revenge. And MJF continues to establish that he's above this kid, that Garcia is going to make some mistakes because he's not on MJF's, mindset. He's not on that level kind of thing. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good opening segment. Renee Paquette is backstage with the Conglomeration, and Will Ospreay is there as well to hype up their match later on this evening. Will Ospreay is like, it's like, I hope everyone's okay that I'm joining you this evening. Then Mark Briscoe says that, I called Will Ospreay, that Kyle O'Reilly called me, and he's doing Mark Briscoe stuff, and it's just a stream of consciousness kind of promo that is just amazing, and it all makes sense. It all connects. He's fantastic at this stuff. So that's why it's like sometimes when I hear, big props to this producer, to Jennifer Pepperman for working with Mark Briscoe. I'm like, what do you do? What? You don't have to do a thing. It's just like, all right, talk, Mark. And then the producer gets the credit. What are we doing here? The word of the day was stupendous, by the way. Then we went over to the AEW Continental title match where Kazuchika Okada defeated Kyle Fletcher. This match absolutely rocked. There was not a ton of wrestling on this show, but most of the wrestling on this show was just rocked. I thought it was very, very good. Fletcher in this match, absolutely fantastic. Like, first of all, this match got a bell pop. And that to me is a sign that Kyle Fletcher is absolutely okay. One of the most annoying pieces of discourse that I have circling around me these days is how Kyle Fletcher, they're dropping the ball on Kyle Fletcher, and he needs to start winning matches and whatnot. Tony has not been giving him matches, wins, I should say. He's been giving him matches. He's been pushing the boy. And he's doing fine to the point that he's getting over with the crowd, because the crowd see Fletcher and Okada face to face, and the bell rings and it gets a pop. I mean, it's working. And the day that Tony decides to throw his support behind Kyle and pull the trigger, and it's like, here we go, Proto Star, the time is now. He's just gonna rock. It's gonna be fantastic, just like this match was. You get a dive by Fletcher and a swinging side slam as well. Okada lands the air raid neckbreaker, the backpack neckbreaker. I don't know how you want to call that. Top rope elbow drop follows. A Michinoku driver by Fletcher, a bit out of nowhere, was for a big surprise move, and a kick out by Okada got a big reaction from the crowd. DDT on the floor by Okada. Brainbuster on the apron by Fletcher. Okada drop kicks Fletcher off the turnbuckle. He's doing a lot of his signature stuff in this match here. I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing it out. And then he boots Fletcher over the rails, but Fletcher lands a brainbuster on the barricade, which was tremendous. Running senton over the barricade follows. I'm like, this match is going so hard right now, and Fletcher's working so hard. They strike, they kick each other, spinning tombstone by Fletcher, but Okada distracts the ref, lands a low blow, followed by a Rainmaker for the win. Quite frankly, I think Kazuchika Okada should have won a little more decisively, but clearly we are in the process of making sure that we're not destroying Kyle Fletcher's, bubbling aura right now. This was designed to give a measure of protection to Fletcher. Personally, I would have preferred the big win, because I think Fletcher I don't think he would have lost anything. I don't think it would have been a problem for him to have just eating the Rainmaker straight pipe and that's it, right? I think honestly, I think he's okay. I think it's fine. But, you know, I guess, you know, it wasn't exactly what was in the cards here. We feel like we need to protect him, but I think he's okay. I think we could have pulled it off. I think it could have been done. Just have him lose clean. Because it's Kazuchika Okada. What are we doing here? Like, you know, there's that part of it as well. It's not just about Fletcher. It's also about Kazuchika Okada, who was one of the greatest to ever do it. One of the top wrestlers in the world for years and years and years. And you could still argue he still is, even though he's not flexing his muscle as much as he used to. These days, anyway, in AEW. What is it that... what is it about Kyle Fletcher that absolutely needed the protection and that Okada just couldn't go over him clean, especially since he never defends this title, or very seldom, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I also think that I really do feel like Okada could have just got the proper win here. Anyway, after the match, Konosuke Takeshita runs down to check on Fletcher as Okada leaves the ring, and they have a bit of a stare down, you know, as Okada goes up the ramp, and, you know, Takeshita calls him out, takes off his shirt, you know, reveals his shirt of muscles, and you know, we're setting up a Kazuchika Okada Takeshita confrontation, which will probably happen at All In, right? Isn't that what was added to the show? They're adding a fatal four-way. Don't call it that though. A four-way match for the Continental title. Kazuchika Okada against 3 opponents, TBD on Friday's Collision / Rampage, right? And Konosuke Takeshita is going to be one of the guys vying for one of the spots. I don't remember who the others are. It doesn't matter. I'm going to have a proper preview for All In ready soon. So, you know, we'll cover that over there. But, I mean, you could do a lot worse than Kazuchika Okada versus Konosuke Takeshita, am I right? Isn't that something that a lot of us would love to see? Yes. Yes. So, you know, we'll see if this starts establishing some new venues here for Takeshita, who is a guy who should be pushed. He should be in these conversations with guys like Daniel Garcia and Kyle Fletcher these days. By the way, someone told me that they made the observation that Kyle Fletcher looks like a character from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I cannot unsee it. If you are familiar with the manga / anime, then I think you will be like me moving forward. You will be unable to unsee it. We get a video package of Swerve Strickland with Prince Nana. He's buying his childhood home. What an innocuous little thing to promote, you know. But you're like, he's doing something nice. He said, you know, former world champion, and, you know, thanks to all the money I made with my new contract. They showed some footage of that. And my manager here, Prince Nana, you know, I was able to buy my childhood home. He's showing pictures of him as a kid. Says things weren't always easy and whatnot, but it's nice to have the home back. So, oh boy, if only we knew. If only we knew. It did come across as a little off kilter, right? It's like, why are we doing this? But we'll soon find out. Jamie Hayter defeated Robyn Renegade in her return match. Fine little match, good return, good opponent in Robyn Renegade as well, which, you know, you can't call this a squash. It was an enhancement match, but, you know, this was not a squash. Renegade put up some offense. It was a good opponent for Hayter's return. She looked good. We get a recap of Hook tapping out Roderick Strong. So Renee Paquette is backstage then with Scrap Daddy Christopher Daniels and Strong, who is, and they're all, in agreement, that the foot under the rope was an oversight by referee Aubrey Edwards. And Hook arrives and he says, yeah, you know what? This was, not the best outcome. And he offers up a shot to the FTW title to Rod, because he's a fighting champion for, the vanity title. and Roderick Strong says, I want the match, but not tonight. I'll let you know when I'm ready to go. Okie dokie. We see Jon Moxley arriving at the arena alongside Marina Shafir, who's just like, judo throwing everyone she runs into, while Mox just like swaggers along and, looks at the damage she's causing. They run into the Young Bucks and Jack Perry, and Mox says, I don't care what they say. He says this to Perry, right? I don't care what they say. You're a sweet kid. This has to be a CM Punk reference. To all the nonsense that happened. It has to be. It cannot not be, right? Anyway, they make their way to the ring. Mox gets on the mic. If you were hoping for some clarifications, we got none. He wonders if he's calling out Darby Allin, and Darby Allin's not there. So he's like, okay, well, there you go. He says a few years ago, we fought in a match together, and I knew the kid was special back then, and I still think he is today. He plays. He said Darby plays the game the way it's meant to be played, with reckless abandon. He says being on TV is something that we're not entitled to. How quickly we forget about that. He's still being cagey about his overall intentions here. Basically he says, look, I'm not an impatient man, but Darby, we have to talk. I just want to talk. That's all I want to do is talk. And maybe we'll get this next week. But he hits the bricks afterwards. So like, okay. The intrigue is still there. What does he want to discuss with Darby? Why is he running around with Marina Shafir? Why does he feel so distant from the BCC? Like, there's a lot of stuff happening here. I wouldn't be surprised if Jon Moxley gets into this mode where he's like, a lot of people. The fact that he talked about that people have been are forgetting that being on TV and doing what we do is a privilege, and that a lot of people feel entitled to it. I think that's a direction where he's going to be like, no, maybe using some real life frustrations here and how in the direction of the company or certain behaviors backstage. Maybe he's at a point where he's like, where this is going to fuel a new direction for Mox, where he sort of becomes like the guy that is here to turn this wrestling promotion back into a wrestling promotion kind of thing. I don't know. We'll see how this goes, because there's still a lot of mystery around it. Renee Paquette is backstage with Chris Jericho and his boys. They're talking about stuff. Orange Cassidy is going to be fighting Brian Keith for a spot in the 4-way for the Continental title at All Out. Chris Jericho's talking about Orange Cassidy, mentions the $7,000 jacket that he ruined a few years ago. Big Bill has a few words, and then Orange Cassidy pops in on screen and starts talking to Brian Keith. Like, he literally gets in front of Chris Jericho, and Orange Cassidy says, hey, Brian, tell Chris Jericho that I will, if you beat me on Friday, I will pay him back the $7,000 in cash. So you go ahead and tell him that. And Jericho's just like, I'm ready. Fun little segment. It's fine. It's very Orange Cassidy. He even says, hey, Renee. And then he moves on, like completely oblivious to the fact that Chris Jericho was there. Mariah May had her first successful defense of the AEW Women's World Championship by defeating, the Gatekeeper, Nyla Rose, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. Fine. I don't know what what you want out of this. It's a fine little match. I thought it was a little sloppy at times. I think, look, I haven't been a fan of Mariah's work since she bloodied up Toni Storm. I think she kind of dropped the ball. I was thinking that, and it's weird, right? Because I watched her on she was on that Barstool show. I don't know which one, Barstool Sports. She was on that show as a guest, and she was so natural and fun. I thought she was a great personality to have on that type of show, and it just worked out so well. And then she gets to the ring, she cuts her promo, she's kind of dry, it's kind of boring, and right now she's not convincing me that she's a world champion. Like, I'm completely unconvinced about that. 100%. I'm not buying it. Anyway, I don't think this was anything special. This should have been a big time match for her to come out and just have a great match. But I mean, at the same time, she's with Nyla Rose, who's a fine wrestler, but yeah, again, no one that's gonna tear the house down. It's fine. It's all fine. Deonna Purrazzo has a pre-tape talking about how artists go through phases, and she is not done making art. Alrighty. Mercedes Moné is next, making her entrance. Camille, of course, is there. She gets to the ring, picks up a microphone. She puts over defending her New Japan Strong Women's Championship, and I cannot point this out enough. Okay, I gotta keep hammering this home. Most of the time, I'm sure it's not a perfect record here, but most of the time, AEW will put over when their talent are successful in things in other promotions, right? Like this thing here with, we've seen it, right? And, Danielson wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom, and they'll show a bit of footage. They'll put over the fact that their people are going elsewhere. I think when Willow went to CMLL, and I'm not talking Fantasticamania, when she went to CMLL, was it last fall or something, or earlier this year? I don't quite remember. Time is wibbly wobbly sometimes for me. They mentioned that. When are these other guys? When WWE, and everyone talks about how they're establishing these great partnerships, and they're sending their wrestlers to TNA, and they're sending their wrestlers to Marigold and Pro Wrestling Noah. How much footage did we see of AJ Styles in Pro Wrestling Noah? How much footage did we see of Io Sky, in Marigold? Did they talk about Tavion Heights and the other guy? I'm sorry, Josh Briggs in the N1? Did they talk about how well they performed? Of course not. This is why people like us, who have been watching wrestling for so long and who understand how WWE operates, when people get excited about these partnerships, I'm like, well, let's see what kind of partnerships we got. Because in this circumstance here, AEW is sending their wrestlers elsewhere, and they're promoting their successes. They're promoting what they're doing on AEW television. They don't have to do that, but it's good business when you have solid partnerships. WWE never mentions this stuff. They might mention it, but they'll never underscore it. They definitely won't show footage. So I'm still very weary about all of this. Look, it's the same thing with TNA. Sure, the name TNA gets thrown around a lot, but look at the level of the partnership. Look at who's being sent to NXT. We had the Women's World Champion. We got the X Division Champion that was at the pay-per-view last weekend at No Mercy. And they're getting what? Izzy Dame? They're getting the Catch Quarter Crew? The Catch Crew? The no Catch Quarter Crew? The no Quarter Catch 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 Crew? You know, Frankie Kazarian showing up on NXT. Tatum Paxley heads over to TNA. You know, it's like, anyway. I'm just saying, partnerships should feel like partnerships. They shouldn't be one-way things. Anyway, Mercedes gets on the mic and she talks and whatever. Hikaru Shida pops up on the Tonytron, puts over the fact that she almost beat Mercedes in their last match. She reveals a new t-shirt that she has. Scrap Daddy Christopher Daniel comes into view and he says that Camille is going to be banned from ringside for their match at All Out. And Shida says, sayonara, bitch. Okay. I don't know. I'm not into this match. I mean, I'm glad that Mercedes is putting in matches, that she's putting in belt to belt time. We said this. Isn't it interesting? And you can go back and watch the tape, because I was sitting here back when she started, back when they were just having her pop, her being Mercedes, come out, cut her awkward promos, trying to do WWE skits, and it's not working. I was saying over and over again, this woman needs to wrestle, right? Because there was this whole period, there was like 2 months since she started, between the moment she started in her first match, where it was dismal and she was hurting her image. And I was sitting here saying, put her in the ring, have her wrestle, and everything will course correct. Because that legitimately is what Mercedes Moné is best at. She is a fantastic wrestler. The rest, you know, from her days over at the other places, Sasha Banks, everyone knows that her promos have never been her strong suit. And I said it. Have her wrestle, and everything will course correct. And guess what? They're having her wrestle, and Mercedes has never been this interesting in AEW. So people should listen to me is what I'm saying. That's essentially what I'm saying. It's time for y'all to start paying attention. Jack Perry is backstage with the Young Bucks. He cuts a promo about how it was his dream to face the American Dragon once upon a time, but now he only cares about his fairy tale ending or something to that effect. Matt Jackson then addresses the camera, saying that the Elite will do whatever it takes to bring the world title home. Oh boy, great! nothing like telegraphing the fuck finish for the match. I'm excited now. I'm being sarcastic. Danielson joins commentary. Bryan Danielson, in case you're not following, world heavyweight champion. Or not just heavy, there's no weight classes. It's just world champion. He joins commentary for the final match of the night, which is the Blackpool Combat Club's Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta, alongside Pac, defeating the conglomeration trio, or at least, you know, with the conglomeration, Kyle O'Reilly and Orange Cassidy with temporary member Will Ospreay. And this was a lot of fun. You know, we talk about traditions in AEW, and, you know, remember when they were trying to tell us this grand tradition of women's multi-women matches? Remember that stuff? You remember when they were trying to tell us that? Oh, this grand tradition. And you're like, no, these matches stink. The true grand tradition of AEW is great multi-man matches. It's a constant in the history of the company, which is why people wanted trios titles for so long. And we're begging Tony Khan to do it. And then we get the trios titles, and then the multi-man matches sort of become stale and weird. And this year they started going back to the formula of having just, like, you know, 4 trios matches and 8-man tags and stuff. And they've been stupendous. Like, aren't they doing an all-star multi-man match? I think it's on Collision, right? They're doing an 8-man, and they're calling it like the all-star match, like, which is what it was called a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago at this point. And everyone was like, "Damn, this is tremendous stuff." It's the same thing. Again, I'm rewatching All Out from 2019, And the multi-man matches rule. These multi-man tag matches are just great. That is the grand tradition of AEW. And it's fascinating why the company doesn't lean more into them to create stories and establish rivalries and feuds in this entertaining package that just gets you excited, because this match was tremendous as well. Lots of squaring up between the guys, which ends with Pac and Will Ospreay, who have their match, of course, at All Out this weekend. Orange Cassidy is your babyface in peril here for a good part of the match, which leads to a hot Will Ospreay hot tag. Lots of exchanges. Everyone's doing dives at some point. They're all diving to the floor in such a great, consistent pace, and the audience are up on their feet, and I'm thumping my chest, and I'm like, this is all so good. This rules. Will Ospreay and Pac fight up the ramp. Pac somersaults Will Ospreay somersaults sentons off the stage onto Pac, who's on the floor, and they just like disappear. They brawl to the back, and they're gone for the rest of the match. Diving DDT by Orange Cassidy back in the ring. Claudio escapes a Kyle O'Reilly guillotine with a pop-up European uppercut. Lands the big swing with the Wheeler Yuta drop kick and gets the win. So the Trios boys maintain their titles, and that was a lot of fun. After the match, there's a lot of things happening here. Bryan Danielson heads down to the ring to celebrate with the BCC, which then allows the Elite to attack everyone from behind. Jack Perry, the Bucks, Okada, everyone is there. The tides turn. Anyway, this all ends with Claudio challenging the Bucks for a shot at the tag team titles at All Out this weekend, which is going to happen as far as I understand. And Danielson, of course, promises that Jack Perry is going to get his fucking head kicked in. And then we go backstage where Pac and Ospreay are fighting, and Pac brainbusters Ospreay on a road case, and he says, "You're underestimating me." And I am so into this match. Like I've been into this match since last week with the surprise Poison Rana. He even tried to do it again. Pac did this on Will Ospreay in this match, and it didn't quite work out as well this time. Tremendous stuff. Like, so it's really well built. A short build, but and I kind of hope it continues, because I think these two guys have a lot to offer. Don't sleep on this match. Like, this has the potential to be one of the great ones. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen here. And then we get to the main event contract signing, which created an audible groan from your boy, as everyone's, as everyone is always super excited for some paperwork being handled on live television. But Hangman's not coming out. Swerve comes out, but Hangman's not coming out. So everyone is wondering, well, where the hell is Hangman? And we cut to well, not that we cut to, but instead of Hangman showing up live, he shows up on the Tonytron via satellite. I love saying that. No one says that anymore. There's no such thing as via satellite. It just doesn't exist anymore. I love it. And it turns out that Hangman Adam Page is at Swerve Strickland's newly purchased home. His the house that he grew up in. He's in front of it, and he walks in and he cuts a fantastic promo, and undeniably tremendous, well done, well written, excellently executed promo, where he's just tearing everything down, talking about, oh yes, I could see, picturing Swerve's mother in the kitchen with the filthy floors, and his father, sitting in his chair berating Swerve, and just just a fantastically, like, insidious, hateful promo. And as he's saying it, he's throwing gasoline around. He's got a tank. He's got a portable little tank, and he's throwing gasoline around in the home. He says, Swerve, you're a hard man to find. But by posting that little video of you buying the house, well, I was able to see where you were. I tracked you down. I found this. And he all brings it back to, oh, you've been following me. You've been outside my home watching me carry my pregnant wife to the hospital. A lot of righteous indignation, right? But he's throwing the gasoline around. So what does he do? Once he's done, he goes outside. He's on the porch. He says, all I want to do is burn your world to the ground. He sits down in a recliner. He's got a recliner set up with a little coffee table, a little nightstand kind of thing with a drink on it. He lights up some matches, throws them to the ground, and everything catches on fire. Like, whoosh. We're not pretending to be burning down a house here. We are actually burning down a house. It is, and Page is sitting in his armchair, back to the fire, and is just taking a sip of his drink as we cut to Swerve in the ring, and he's losing his mind. So, a little bit of stuff to unpack. Let's get this out of the way to begin with. I thought this ruled. I thought this was a tremendous angle. And I understand that it's over the top. It's kind of corny. It's not realistic. Because, you would settle this, in a court of law at this point, not in a wrestling ring, correct? Because this is technically arson. Hell, the Milwaukee audience was chanting, "This is arson." Clap, 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 clap. So we all understand the absurdity of what's going on here. However, with how Hangman has been, let me say that again. Hangman has been pushed to this. He, over the past, ever since he's returned, over the Owen Hart tournament stuff, a couple of months ago at this point, he's been unhinged. He is not well, and everything that has been happening, the losses, the fact that Swerve is ignoring him, it's been getting to him and has been pushing him over the edge, pushing him closer and closer to the edge, I should say. And now he completely fell off because he decided to torch a man's house over everything that's been happening. I cannot but not see the logic in this, the great storytelling, and the great performance by Hangman Page here, which leads me to say, I like this. I like this a lot. I like this tremendous. You can do comparisons to whatever you want in other great moments in pro wrestling history where houses have been torched. This stands on its own. It stands on its own, and it makes it. If they had done this, like out of nowhere when Hangman came back, then you'd be like, wow, this is a little out of nowhere. But there was a build to this moment. It all makes sense in Adam Page's twisted mind, in his completely shattered, fractured mind right now. So yes, it's over the top. It's kind of nonsense. It's a little corny, but it's also extremely cool. And and it works, and I enjoyed it. And it adds this, it continues to remind us that these two men absolutely, in kayfabe, hate each other, like a visceral hatred. And what does this company need more of? This kind of hatred. They're not fighting over, charm bracelets. They're not holding back and looking at their hands and why am I so violent? Will I actually be hurting my friend here, you know, instead of working a body part? No, these are two guys who for months have just loathed each other. And we are going into All Out, and there is no question what the big match is, what the drawing match is. It's this one here. They're doing it in a cage, locking everyone up, and it's going to be brutal. It's going to be violent. Neither of these guys are going to half-ass this because they understand the position that they're in. Swerve is just coming off of him being anointed as a top guy. Page is a top guy in the company, and they're both fantastic workers. Adam Page is incapable of having a bad match. Swerve will turn it up because he is in a big position, because that's what he does now. This match is going to be fantastic. I actually enjoyed this, and I enjoyed the little extra shove that has been done here to make this match feel even more visceral and angry and full of rage and hate. We're not going to have a PG-13 strap match off of two guys who allegedly really hate each other. No, we believe that these guys hate each other. And we're going to look back on this. This has all the potential to go back in time. When we go back in time, to be a seminal rivalry in pro wrestling. Adam Page and Swerve Strickland. I hope these guys never end up on the same side. I hope they never hate, they never like each other. I hope they're always at each other's throats. And even, let's say, in a situation where they're forced to be on the same side, let's say like a blood and guts and, you know, Page turns babyface again and, you know, they have to team up. I hope they still don't get along. I hope they still like avoid each other. In fact, I hope they just avoid putting them on the same team forever. You know, like Tommy Dreamer and Raven kind of thing. That's the comp for me. Where it's like two guys who have this generational rivalry, guys who are absolutely at odds with each other. Of course, they did have Tommy Dreamer and Raven, you know, be on the same side occasionally. Like, that's happened. But that's also a mistake. Why not? Why we don't have to have these people get along. We can have this like this generational feud that will transcend even if they go work elsewhere. Even it just exists, and you can't retcon it. And it's just one of the. It has all this potential because everything that these guys do together is gold, and they have chemistry. They work so well with each other that you want more of it. This is the reason you should be watching All Out this weekend. I mean, Pac and Will Ospreay is another great match, don't get me wrong, but this is why you're buying the show. And if you think Adam Page and Swerve Strickland don't realize that, you must be new to pro wrestling. You're welcome, by the way. But you must be new here. I am blown away by how excited I am about this. One thing that bothered me, Swerve's reactions in the ring. I can't, like, it didn't bother me enough to the point where I'm like, I'm hand waving the entire segment, but you know, I understand too the complexity of having to perform reactions to a distressing event in a wrestling ring for like minutes upon minutes, where a natural reaction probably would be for someone to freak out and then just like run to the back and, you know, get on the phone, call the cops or whatever. Like that would be a natural reaction. Here you have to do something that is unnatural as a reaction, you know, as you being a human being. But then Swerve just like, he hams it up. And we've talked about this a few times. You know how Swerve sometimes he's unnatural in his emoting and reactions, and that can oftentimes be to his detriment, And I feel it went a little too far here. I don't want to say NXT face, but a lot of people, you know, might compare it to that. To me, NXT face is something else. But you know, it's a little too sports entertaining. It's a minor gripe. But, you know, because everything is so over the top regardless. But again, Swerve is a guy whose authenticity is, you know, the promo he cut in front of his house was tremendous. Like, it's just something that feels so earnest and sincere. And I'm like, I buy this, and this is so nice, and it's a cool little moment, yeah. Whereas him, like, distorting his face, puffing his cheeks, you know, because he's distraught and full of rage. I'm like, this is too much. This is too much. Too cartoony. I think that's it. It's like, it's too much of a comic book villain, which is what Swerve wants to be. Listen, there's going to be all sorts of takes about it, and your take will probably be very valid unless your take is, this stunk. That, because even if you didn't like, this is where I stand on this. Let's say even if the setting of the house on fire was too over the top for you, which I can buy, the promo is objectively fantastic. It was objectively great. I can't see anyone who's saying, oh, this stunk. Like, I think you're wrong if you think everything stunk. Because if you, again, just chop away the fire bit, which I get it. If you, sure, that we can have a little chit chat, a little argument on. But the promo that Page delivered, nah, man, that was golden stuff. This company is better because of Adam Page. And it's been systematic for years, but this company is better because of Hangman Adam Page. Now, if he can only stop making babies and come to work, I think we're going to be on a roll. I think he has a huge part to play still in the future of All Elite Wrestling. That being said, the future says it's time to wrap up this edition of the Dynamite review. Thank you everyone for joining me. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. I appreciate your patronage. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.